Good afternoon from Paris City Hall here on the banks of the Seine. I'm Matthew Campbell, a chief business correspondent at Bloomberg. I have with me the mayors of two American cities, two very different American cities, Jeri Muoio from West Palm Beach, Florida,
Right.
and Matthew Appelbaum of Boulder, Colorado. As we were just discussing before the camera started rolling, 13 feet above sea level, 5,500 feet above sea level. Very different challenges or very different settings, but actually quite similar views on climate change. Can you tell me a little bit about that, Jeri?
Well, it's important for us as a city to take leadership, make sure that our residents are planning and thinking about climate change, and that we as a city government are planning and thinking about climate change and what we need to do to make sure that our city is resilient, that we are able to deal with sea level rise, that we're able to deal with changing climate. So we believe strongly that cities are where it's at, and that we're the people who are getting things done, and particularly in this arena.
And do national governments have much to contribute here? I mean, in the U.S. context, it's been a very mixed record, of course.
It's been a mixed record, absolutely. National governments could do an enormous amount. Not to take anything away from cities, because I think what all of us in cities are doing is fabulous. It needs to be done. It creates the foundation on which everything else sits. But you think about what national governments could do, a carbon tax that would change the whole game immediately. It would open up all these doors to competitiveness and choice, and really kind of unleash the innovation economy that we're so well known for. And yet we cannot get things like that done. And frankly, the national governments and state governments also often get in the way, probably more so in
Yes.
Florida, as you would know, of what cities are trying to do, because they just don't want to go down that path for various reasons. They're either protecting the entrenched interest in some way, in our case, utilities that we're trying to work around as we try to decarbonize our energy systems, or it's just very slow, or they're a little afraid of getting involved in these new, this kind of new world, this new energy environment that's unfolding before our very eyes.
Or they've taken direct action to take the ability of cities to regulate some of that. For example, I wanted to ban plastic bags in our city, and I can't do that because the state has preempted my ability to do that. So those are some of the challenges we have when state and federal government aren't supportive of us.
And what does it take? I mean, this is a question I've asked some business leaders who are on the climate change bandwagon, if you like, or who are here. What does it take to convince the holdouts? In politics, will it require, Miami being under 6 feet of water?
I think probably for some people. There are so many people who are still denying the science that it's just astounding to me, actually. We respond to catastrophes, unfortunately. We don't plan ahead. We're not being thoughtful about what we're going to be like in 2030 or 2050. We end up responding to catastrophes.
If I could add on to that, I mean, I think, we can make the environmental arguments all day long, and obviously we believe that they're accurate, and there are going to be some huge consequences for society worldwide. It won't just be a few extra hurricanes or storms. It will be sea level rise displacing 7 million people in Southeast Florida and 100 million people in Bangladesh. But I think really who you have to convince, kind of up your alley, is the business community. I mean, the financial markets are figuring this out actually in many ways before the politicians are. You talk to the reinsurance companies, you talk to folks who have to deal with this.
Those who see it on the bottom line.
Yeah, those who see it on the bottom line, and they realize what the implication is going to be from them. And you could say, well, it's self-serving, fine. If it gets us where we need to get to, that's a good thing. As I think they start looking at the implications, which are not just environmental, but there's massive implications in the financial markets, the economic systems. If anything is going to change some of the conversation, especially, frankly, in the Republican Party, it's going to have to come from people like that.
And when you hear senators, as we just did a few moments ago here, we had 10 senators, all Democrats, certainly talking a very big game about the ability of the United States to stick to the commitments that were made here by President Obama earlier this week. Should we believe that? I mean, can international partners take the word of the U.S. on these reductions? Will they happen?
Well, I'll just respond briefly to that. Over 100 of us have signed on to the Compact of Mayors, and I think it's going to take cities to do what they need to do to make us be able to live up to our promise.
Well, I think the answer is a cautious yes, a hopeful yes.
Right.
You know, presidents have a certain level of authority. He can't do a carbon tax, for instance, without Congress.
There are executive
I wish he
actions
could.
that can be
There's a
done.
limit to executive actions, and each election brings new outcomes. Obviously, the next election next year is absolutely critical. We could turn the clock back 100 years in 2016 if the citizens of the U.S. choose to do so. I do think the Obama administration, plus the Democrats in Congress, and maybe a few stray Republicans, can live up to the basic commitments, things like the Clean Power Plan. I mean, they're not the be-all, end-all, but they're steps along the way.
Yeah.
And I think each step not only helps in and of itself, but it also demonstrates you can accomplish something. And you can do it in ways that are productive and positive and don't have negative consequences. In fact, this would all have a very positive consequence for the economy if we just let it run its course.
Indeed. Well, on that very hopeful note, we will have to leave things there.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
very much
you.
for both of your time, and we'll be back again here from Paris City Hall with more in just a few moments. I'm Matthew Campbell from Bloomberg. Thank you for watching.